Now, in conjunction with this, the 12th Global Terrorism Index was released earlier this week. The new findings suggest that the number of countries recording a terrorist attack increased from 58 to 66. This reverses nearly a decade of improvement, with 45 countries deteriorating. Now, Pakistan ranks second on the Global Terrorism Index 2025, released by the Institute for Economics and Peace earlier this week. In 2024, the number of deaths due to terrorist attacks in Pakistan surged by 45%, with over 1,000 incidents, more than double the previous year's count of 517. This is the first time since the first edition of the index in 2000 that Pakistan has exceeded 1,000 terrorist attacks in a single year. The Sahel region accounts for half of global terror deaths, while ISIS has expanded to 22 countries, deadliest with 1,805 deaths. Burkina Faso ranks first among 163 countries based on the impact of terrorism. The GTI evaluates terrorism through various indicators such as the number of attacks, fatalities, injuries and the overall impact on the country. The Afghan affiliate Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, has become the fastest growing terrorist group in the country, according to the report. TTP's attacks spiked in 2004, accounting for over half of Pakistan's terrorism-related deaths, with 482 attacks resulting in 585 fatalities. The group caused a 91% increase in the number of deaths compared to the previous year. Okay, I have two people with me now. My colleague Amritpal Singh, along with Alok Bansal is also joining us, Director, India Foundation and well-known security expert. Let me come to you, Amritpal, first. Let's talk about Tahawwur Rana first, because he is a much sought-after person in terms of bringing all those who were behind 26/11 to justice in India, where the crime occurred, and he's been in the US for a long time and still trying to evade his extradition to India. Do you think that his success at this attempt is going to be short-lived?
That's right, Gautam. It's going to be short-lived, and for the reason that he's lost, he has lost his primary case in the district courts, then in the Federal Court of Appeals. Then in January, the Supreme Court also, finally said the U.S. Supreme Court set aside his review, saying that there was a case against him for extradition and trial in India. Now, as every accused does, he's using some technical grounds, one or the other. On the 2nd of March, he brought out a judgment of a court in London, in the UK, saying that an arms dealer was given, was not extradited, saying that he could be tortured in India, and that applies to him, and it goes against the US law and the US Convention on Prevention Against Torture. The court obviously saw no merit in it, and the Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court set aside, dismissed his application for emergency stay. His counsel is now approaching the U.S. Chief Justice's court. Unless he approaches the U.S. Chief Justice's court on an entirely different ground, it would be set aside. So it's basically the U.S. courts and the U.S. government has made its intention very clear that they wish to extradite Tahawwur Rana to India for trial in the 26/11 attacks, because they see him as a dangerous individual and one who was involved in one of the biggest terrorist activities anywhere around the world. And India and United States are on the same page when it comes to a collective fight against terrorism. Therefore, his chances of getting reprieve from the U.S. courts look limited. Gautam?
All right. It's still vivid, that attack in 2008, Amrit, in many of our memories. Just tell us what specific role, if you can, sort of remind us, did Tahawwur Rana play in this entire conspiracy?
Okay, Tahawwur Rana and David Coleman Headley were, when the investigations happened, 10 people were clearly there, Ajmal Amir Kasab and the 9 others. 9 others were killed. Ajmal Amir Kasab was arrested, tried, and then executed after a fair trial in Indian courts. About a year later, after the attacks, the role of David Coleman Headley and Tahawwur Hussain Rana came into light. That how David Coleman Headley visited India. According to the confessions of David Coleman Headley in Indian courts through video conferencing, he revealed that Tahawwur Hussain Rana colluded with him, helped him do recce. When he came to India, he made 5 visits to India. He opened a company called the First World Immigration Services, which was owned by Tahawwur Hussain Rana. So he was one of the key conspirators and the planners in the 26/11 attacks. Then the Indian investigators found his links and how he was in touch both with the Lashkar-e-Taiba and one Major Iqbal of the Inter-Services Intelligence, or the ISI of Pakistan. There is enough material with the Indian investigators that he was involved in that. So the case against him is of conspiracy in and planning of the 26/11 attacks, for which India is seeking his extradition for trial in India, Gautam.
And very quickly, what about David Coleman Headley? Would he also at some point face justice in India?
David Coleman Headley has already entered into a plea pardon bargain with the United States government. Both of them were sentenced to prison. David Coleman Headley for 35 years, Tahawwur Hussain Rana for 14 years, in a different case, in an attack on a Danish newspaper. Then when the Indian investigators approached the US agencies, the FBI probed this case. Later, David Coleman Headley entered into a plea bargain with the US government. So he wouldn't come, but he's revealed facts, and that is what Tahawwur Hussain Rana tried to do. He said that he's been cleared of the case, therefore he cannot be sent. But the US prosecutor argued against him that his case was different from David Coleman Headley and does not apply in that, and therefore he's liable for extradition. He lost that case, as I said, in the district courts, in the Federal Court of Appeals, and finally in the US Supreme Court. So while David
Coleman Headley, yes. Okay, we seem to have lost Amrit Pal for a bit. Let me bring in Alok Bansal now. Alok Bansal, I was told that when I spoke to Amrit Pal about David Coleman Headley, you smiled. So were you smiling just about the vagaries of American jurisprudence, or were there other reasons associated with it as well?
See, this is just the contradiction that somebody who was far more involved now cannot be extradited because he's entered into a plea bargain. More importantly, unlike Tahawwur Rana, David Coleman Headley has US citizenship. Tahawwur Rana has a Canadian citizenship. So that's also a difference, and I think that's made the difference. But it's a big achievement that Government of India has succeeded in getting Tahawwur Rana. We hope that very soon he'll be in India, and not only will he be convicted and tried and prosecuted for his role in this ghastly attack, but maybe his investigation may reveal certain closeted accomplices which have not probably come to light till date. So there are a lot of advantages. It will not only act as a deterrence, but could probably further take the prosecution's case and maybe unravel certain mysteries which are still not known as far as this ghastly attack is concerned.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's in the realm of the unknown, but let's talk about the known knowns. And one of the known knowns, the biggest ones, is that this was a plot that was planned and executed by a lot of people who have been and are still out of India's grasp in Pakistan, be they non-state actors or even state actors within the Pakistani armed establishment.
See, there is no doubt that Pakistan's ISI was involved in this particular attack, and Government of India has revealed their names, those who were involved. Pakistan has failed to either arrest them, prosecute them, or hand them over to India. And I think this is for global community to see. Now, only this is where US has to show its real mettle, because the President Trump recently thanked Pakistan for handing over a individual who was involved in an attack in Kabul. And he thanked ISI and Pakistani government. Now, I hope he would also pressurize them to hand over these accomplices who were involved in attack on 26/11, because a large number of US citizens also died in that ghastly attack. So I hope that he is in a position to pressurize Pakistan into handing over some of them at least, though it looks quite unlikely that ISI or Pakistan security establishment will part with them easily.
Okay. Well, what Pakistan can consider at the moment is the 12th Global Terrorism Index, which we told our viewers about just after we talked about Tahawwur Rana initially in this bulletin, and it clearly shows that the biggest victim of what it has tried to export to India has now got Pakistan in its grasp.
See, there is no doubt when you create Frankenstein's monsters, they tend to devour you. In fact, Pakistan has used the radicalization to create these tools which they thought will pursue the agenda of their foreign policy and security policy and further their national interests. But they did not realize that this ideology, this radical ideology which they were trying to propagate, creates monsters which will eventually devour them. And that's what is happening. We can see now that Pakistan is suffering, and more and more attacks are happening in Pakistan, because firstly we need to understand that more radical an ideology, lesser is the tolerance for ambiguity, and consequently all these radical Islamists have differences amongst themselves. They don't accept Pakistani state as pursuing the right agenda or following the Islamic tenets, and so attacks on Pakistani state becomes legitimate. Similarly, they keep attacking others who they perceive are not true Muslims, and as a result, sectarian minorities keep getting targeted.
Yes.
So this sort of attacks will increase unless, of course, Pakistan takes a drastic step to de-radicalize the population. Now, for de-radicalization the population, they'll have to at some stage dissociate themselves from the divisive two-nation theory, which automatically gives religion and Islam the primacy.
Definitely. I mean, it is something for Pakistan itself to consider, even the world for that matter, because there's an overall increase as well in the countries affected by terrorism, and in the Sahel region, it is particularly worrisome. Thank you for joining us both, Amrit, as well as you, Alok Bansal, for joining us.